tell you love you more, and you say it's broken. But it wouldn't mend mine.
All right, hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of Block Talk. As always, we're here, your hosts, Crypto Nikolai and Crypto Foxtrot. There he is, dancing around on the stream. How you doing today, man?
Hey, just living it up, doing what I'm doing best, dancing at most inappropriate times.
Hey, you know what? Little dancing goes a long way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, we begin today with a solemn note. We have to mourn the loss of our earnings and our winnings and our any kind of positive momentum in the markets because we
Oh
are
man.
looking at some severe drawback.
Yeah, yeah, dude. It is so bad. Like, man, everything was going so well for a little while there, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, man. It's kind of like the Bears just kind of came out of this whatever hibernation they've been going on. And yeah, they're back with a vengeance, driving prices down. And I am upset at that. Look at all that red. That is just, ugh, so ugly to see that.
Yep. Major losses. We have an extreme pullback in XRP. XRP had previously been trading at or around 40 cents and spiked up to 80 cents. And
Yeah.
so it was a big movement. Some people believe that it was related to the release of X Rapid, or at least projected release, and then so there was a lot of hype along with the announcement that Ripple had been pursuing international partnership. But the problem is those gains did not sustain, and as we see here, it's all the way back down from a high of 80, all the way back down to 44 cents today.
Just cut it clean in half.
Yeah, and
Oh,
so that's kind of hard to watch. Bitcoin itself, the big standard bearer, down to under 6,400. So rip the dream of 7K. We're headed down to 6K on this trajectory. Bitcoin Cash, obviously, still a shitcoin. Ether going down to almost $200. Keep in mind that we were talking just not long ago about how a 420 Ether buy was pretty dank, but now here we are with an
yeah.
Ether buy at $209. Bro, it's a time to stock up.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that it's time to stock up on Ether because I read this interesting article not too long ago saying that once Ether dips below $200, if it dips below $200, that could trigger possibly the biggest bull run in the Ether market that it's ever seen. So whether that, that's purely speculation at this point because we're still hovering around the $210 area. Um, so it begs to be seen whether or not we're going to see some sort of crazy market action with Ether. But like I said, I tend not to get too worried about it until Ether drops below $200,
Yeah.
but nonetheless, it's still kind of bad to see everything just so red. Pink levels rising all over the place.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Now I don't know about you, but personally speaking, I have gone ahead and just fully tethered up, gone into stable coins,
Right.
because this is atrocious, is what this is.
Yeah. You. I mean, I'm sure there's some golden nuggets in there somewhere that you could trade and capitalize on some swings. But at this point, with this much red in the market, I would feel much safer knowing that my satoshis were no longer satoshis and in the form of tether. So yeah, wise move by tethering up there, protecting all of your assets from whatever the hell is going on in the market.
Yeah. And
And
mhm.
it's it like you said, it's a quinceanera for the Bears, and
Yes.
had to get a little flourish with the R there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, very, very spicy. I will say that looking at these numbers, so this reminds me a lot of the last dip that we had. Um, yeah, it's you're not wrong about the Matt, about the volatility. However, it's been at least about a week or so of moderate gains, and in some
yeah,
cases explosive gains. And so to see this kind of pullback so quickly just really reinforces my view that the markets are ruled by bears, and
indeed,
the swing
indeed.
traders, margin traders, options traders, and really people who are not interested in a long term position. And I agree with you. The volatility does make it interesting, but when the price just keeps going downward, unless you have some put options, then
Hmm.
you actually can't make any money. Now, when you sell off at a high price and then you buy back in at a lower price, you do gain some trading power.
Yep.
So, what we're going to look at is the example of where Ether more recently went to $175 or so.
Oh yes, I remember those days. Those were the days where I was secretly shitting myself. That's why not? Let's not lie here. I was very vocally shitting myself.
All
Um,
right, so here we see the recent dip. It was about mid September. Let me get you back on here. So so mid September, early to mid September, Ether went down to $167.
yeah. Oh God, that's so scary.
And so we have a friend who was like, "All right, I'm buying the dip at 175."
Yeah.
And it worked out great. He bought the dip, and then over the next day, Ether pushed back up all the way up to a peak of around 225.
Yeah, that was a solid buy.
So 175 to 225. So even though Ether was shit in the bed, you have to look at it and say, okay, is this really the end of the coin, or are we going to get some pushback? And the bulls pushed back. Now, Ether did have a run all the way up to 255. So just hypothetically speaking, we're going to get our little handy dandy calculator out here. So let's say you had $100 and you bought in at 167.2. So you would have 0.59 of an ether. And if you sold off at 250,
Yep.
you got about a 50% return. You got up to your original $100 was worth 149.70.
Yep.
Yeah. So with yeah, that's interesting. You bring up mining because Ether is actually moving away from mining. They have a hard fork next month, which will start to impact the mining of Ether. Although I think permanent changes are still a ways off. 8 months and 12 months scheduled after Constantinople. But nonetheless, moving to a proof of stake will limit the options for miners and may lower the demand for Ether mining.
Oh yeah, because part of the transition over to the proof of stake is they're going to implement what's called a difficulty bomb, which essentially, and I hope this sort of answers your question here, Matt. The difficulty bomb will essentially render the the proof of work system unusable for the most part, and it will discourage any further mining on Ethereum by making the payout just, ridiculously small to where it's not even worth it anymore. And that
Yeah.
will prompt uh, former miners and future investors over to the proof of stake system, Casper, that they
Yeah.
plan on implementing there. So that's how they would reduce mining, just by making it basically not worth anybody's time to mine anymore.
And to go along with that, the mining rewards are getting lowered from 3 ether to 2 ether, and then on top of that, um, it wouldn't reduce the number of coins in the market because without a coin burn, there's the coins aren't going anywhere.
Right.
But what will happen is that they're going to, in order to help spur natural inflation, they may end up issuing ether through staking rewards. So if once
Yeah.
they transition from proof of work, which is using mining to discover new coins, instead they go to proof of stake, where you have to have 16 ether or whatever the ultimate number ends up being. And so once you have that amount staked in your wallet, then you'll receive a payout, over time.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, man. It's not going to reduce the amount of coins of the market, at least not yet. So it's going to be interesting to see how this transition is going to take place. Um, Vitalik Buterin has already said that once the hard fork is initiated and the difficulty bomb has been implemented, there won't be any noticeable changes to the network, at least for a few months, and that was done intentionally to create sort of um, a safety net for the miners and giving them time to transition from, running all sorts of mining equipment such as ASICs, GPU rigs, what have you,
Yeah.
and transition those earnings that they've earned from there into a proof of stake system so that they can start earning those mining rewards. And like you said, I'm not too sure what the golden number is there. There seems to be some back and forth between the number 16 and the number 32 being the threshold to begin receiving those mining rewards. But nonetheless, it is going to be relatively expensive to begin receiving those mining rewards. But I think they do that. They set the bar a little high first to try to draw in some of the higher powered, coin holders, people with fat accounts and fat wallets. And then who knows? If the proof of stake system tends to be or shows to be successful over time, they may reduce that minimum threshold to bring in some of your everyday traders like you and me and Joe Blow down the street. So we'll see what happens over the next several months. The hard fork is scheduled to go live at some point in October. Um, but with that built-in safety net Vitalik Buterin was talking about, we may not see any noticeable changes in the network, at least until some part of the at some point early 2019. So we'll
Yep.
see what happens.
Yep. There's definitely going to be some time built in. It's not going to be a system shock. That's the last thing that the Ethereum Foundation wants because, they are looking at it like, look, if we already have a volatile market and we introduce too much change too quickly, that could cause a panic sell off and just drastically thwart our plans to create a stable ecosystem on staking.
Right. And if there was a shock to the system, if the difficulty bomb goes off and mining stops immediately, that will grind the entire Ethereum network to a halt. Because then at that point you would have no you wouldn't have any nodes verifying transactions. You wouldn't have any miners solving blocks, releasing ether into the system. So this safety net, not only is it there for a little bit of convenience, it's actually there because it kind of has to be in order for the Ethereum network to survive. Um,
Yep.
so,
To pay for
um,
transactions and contracts and all that. Gas
yeah,
rewards.
exactly. Because without the network, all smart contracts that are on the network are rendered useless, and it's just going to create a nonstop shit show.
Yeah, but who needs ether if the value of ether goes all the way to zero, right? You can put in your own shitcoin instead of gas and run your own smart contracts.
True, very true. There is some argument out there that Ethereum does not need Ether to survive. And I don't know how that makes me feel really, because me being such a fan of Ether because of the speed and the ease of use, um, that is very bothersome to me. Thinking that ether could potentially drop all the way to zero, and then these miners. Well, I mean, we won't have to worry about it anymore after Constantinople and Casper. But just the thought of miners, having been a miner myself before, getting paid in some random shitcoin is just a terrible, terrible idea. Um, there's so much that can go wrong there. One thing being, what happens if this shitcoin used to pay gas just happens to end up being worthless. So now all these miners are being paid for work and devoting their computing power for naught.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No, I like kind of the comparison you're making there. I think that ultimately, to kind of circle back around to the question, why would you keep mining? Is definitely there. There have been some people. I want to say someone over at Antpool said that there was
mm,
going to be some functionality for ether mining, at least in the short term, after these changes start to go live. They're going to do some kind of lending where, basically you use
yeah,
hash power to kind of, do some kind of reverse staking. I'm not sure on all the details there. I haven't looked into it as deeply, but I can tell you this. More than likely, due to the reward happening there, and then the fact that less and less people are going to be mining it, probably want to transition to Zcash. Zcash has a much easier time mining. You don't need ASICs. It's actually on the
yeah,
up and up. And as we look kind of into the news section of what's going on in the cryptoverse, Ethereum has, really jumped onto one of the technologies from Zcash in order to help increase scalability on their network.
yeah, very true. Also glad you brought that up. It's great to see that the team, excuse me, over at the Ethereum Foundation starting to make moves in terms of scalability, which has always been a problem that has plagued the Ethereum network since the beginning. Um, but Vitalik Buterin has discussed um, implementing some technology from Zcash to raise the transactions per second. Ether currently transacting about 15 transactions per second currently, but
At
the
at
hope,
maximum
yeah,
that it
at a
can handle.
maximum, at a
Now
maximum.
that's so
Um,
low compared
yeah,
to many other coins. EOS, off the charts. Even something like Zcash, higher transactions.
Yeah, exactly. And that they're hoping to implement some of that Zcash technology to up that transactions per second to around 500 transactions per second. So if Ether can make a step in that sort of direction and bump up that minimum TPS to around 500, solid move in my opinion. I think it's great that they're sort of thinking outside of the box and they're doing some sort of like, collabo sort of deal here. So implementing that ZK Snarks protocol by aggregating transactions and validating them together rather than executing all of the transactions, implementing ZK Snarks with Zcash to up that transaction per second rate uh, will be big, big changes for Ether and will help hugely uh, push the ease of use and utility of Ether.
Yeah.
Let's see. What is that? In Doge we trust. Yeah, man, you know it.
Absolutely. Such value, many transactions. Speaking of transactions, if we take a look over at on-chain FX to assess
Yeah,
where Ether is relative to some of these other coins, we see that, looking at Zcash, they really don't have the same user base.
right.
Only 27,000 active addresses compared to some of these other bigger coins. Um, Now, I would like to point out here that with EOS still being top by far, XRP is moving up in terms of transactions on the network. What do you make of that?
Well, I think we're seeing a spike in transactions with Ripple and XRP uh, as a result of the successes that they've been having with X Rapid and X Current and getting all these new contracts with companies here lately. I think that's sort of what has prompted that ridiculous, insane growth that we saw over the last week or so, all the way up to the ballpark of 80 cents. And I think those gains would have sustained at least for a little while. But like we're seeing here, the bear Quinceanera is just dragging everything back down with it, trying to get everything at a bargain basement price instead of seeing some growth in terms of valuation.
Yeah.
So I think once we can get out of this fucking quinceanera that we're in, um, and bring it over to a real party, um, we'll start seeing some more substantial growth in terms of valuation across the board. Um,
Yeah, and
it,
we'll definitely note that as it comes about. Obviously, right now we are in a downward trend, so it may be a few days before we start to see that. We have yet to see really any of the big coins get to the support levels and stay there. So we really need to kind of wait it out before we're able to make any specific time predictions.
yeah,
Just keep in mind the last time we just illustrated a 50% return on your investment by buying the Ether 175 dip. So, and you got that return in about a day.
yeah,
So, eventually there's going to be a point where the coins are going to hit bottom, the support is just going to rally up, and enough people are going to say, okay, I'm buying this. And that's when we're going to see it leveling out. We're going to see the MACD crossover for a significant gain.
yeah. That's the hope, anyway. Yeah, what is bottom? That's an excellent question. We aren't sure because I mean, just based on that chart. I mean, granted, that is a 2-hour chart, but everything seems to be sort of pointed downward, at least for the time being.
Well, 4 days ago, Bitcoin was at almost 79 or 6,900.
Yeah, yep,
So in 4 days, it can fall from its peak of 68.39 down to 63.67. I mean, that's almost a full $500 swing in 4 days. Um,
yeah,
that's a lot of money wiped out. So you want to watch for the indicators. We talked about this on stream. You can see here on Binance, if I look down here at this bottom row here, this is where we have the MACD convergence. And
absolutely.
what we're looking for is we're looking for this crossover right here to indicate when the trend is happening. But if you want your real buy-in points, it's at the peak of the green. It's going to be your sell-off point, and the trough of the red is going to be your buy-in point.
Yeah,
So pretty much now when you get this kind of stable red, meaning it's trading down, you really you want to be careful because there's no end in sight for this. So,
Yeah,
mm,
yeah. Seeing such a sustained sell volume like we're seeing there, where it just sort of happened over what is that? At least a day or so. That's just, oh my god, that is so alarming. Yeah, I guess the end would be $0. You're not wrong. Um, that would be a very scary end to everything. Sort of that at that point we're sort of just watching the world burn. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I hope you're wrong too, there, Matt, because there's going to be a lot of upset people if everything goes to zero real
Well,
quick.
I don't think there's any danger of it going to zero.
Right.
I think that realistically speaking, there are enough people out there with the same mindset that our friend had. If it's going to get low, it's low enough to where I'm going to buy in, and then other people are going to do the same. And so, how do you find that mark? Well, eventually you're going to start to see it moving sideways. So what we want is something like if we look up here for the period from over, let's look at some longer candles. So pretty much you see the sideways movement anytime in here. This is going to be pretty good time to buy because you're not in any kind of danger. If you look back, at something like this flash crash from 7,400 to 6,100, good lord. Um, so that's over a 3 day period.
Yeah.
So if you think about that, so once it gets to this point and starts to really level out, you know, that's a good time to think about getting on a position there.
Right. According to the Bollinger Bands and the MACD, especially with the volume tending toward or trending towards the sell side, that would be a good place to consider buying in, especially with that sideways push. But it's just so hard to determine where to get in this market because, as you can see, leading up to that dump, there's sustained growth that's happening there. And then you just hit that one candle, everybody freaks out, sells off, and the entire crypto market just goes up in flames. Um, because, as we've seen, historically, when Bitcoin does badly, everything else does pretty bad, at least initially as well.
Yeah.
And then, you'll start seeing some people move some stuff into altcoins. Maybe they'll move it into Ether or Ripple, especially here lately. Just trying to protect those gains wherever they can or maximize those gains. But in this market, like what is safe anymore? Like, are funds safe anywhere?
Well, I think the answer is in Doge we trust. If we look at September 21st, Doge was hit a low of about, I want to say 82. Yeah, 82
Yeah.
Satoshis. And just 2, 3 days later, did make a break towards 90. So we have actually a couple breaks here. We got another 90 here. So if you bought in at 82, you got a 10% return. You had two opportunities for a 10% return.
Yep.
And so you could have sold this, bought this dip, and then got back in again for about another 5% on top of that. So compounding, you're looking at maybe a total of about 12 to 15% if you traded it optimally. And so keep in mind that this is during what I would describe as an extreme downturn. So if we look at
Mm-hmm.
the same time frame, so you know Bitcoin literally was going from 68 to 66 over that same time frame.
Yeah. Yeah. Dogecoin seems to be pretty resilient in the face of all of this negative downturn. But to address what Matt just said, with altcoins leeching off of Bitcoin, and there's a reason that happens. And the short answer for that is trading bots.
Hmm.
Um, until trading bots were implemented into the system, everything sort of operated independently of each other. Um, And the reason that altcoins are leeching off of Bitcoin is because once you use a trading bot, you are at that point shackling Bitcoin to those altcoin prices. And when Bitcoin goes down, since it's shackled to it, everything else goes down with it. Um, that that is a bit, that's more of like a personal theory of mine, because I've used a trading bot before. um, but in these markets, it's not uncommon to see everything kind of trend down all of a sudden, and then you'll see a couple of golden nuggets in the altcoin realm kind of pump, outside or in the face of everything that's trending downward. So I would estimate that within the next day or two, we will see a handful of altcoins sort of start to turn green and sort of spur some more bullish movement in the market.
Yep, I'm with you on that. I've got a couple of predictions here on that front. I think Zcash is, I'm sorry, I think 0x is going to turn things around. And I think that Basic Attention Token is going to turn things around.
Yeah. And Justin Cakes actually just asked a good question. When is a good time to buy, and how much should I invest? Okay, that is a question that is very, very difficult to answer, because that is a very subject. It has a very subjective answer. There is
We
no.
can give some good guidance though on that. So a good time to buy is when the market is in a downturn. You don't
Yeah,
want to buy when everything is pumping, because the vast majority of the time when you're looking at coins, if they're pumping and you see the high percentage increase, you see the nice charts with the increased growth, someone's already made money on that.
yeah,
You're buying the inflated price at that point. So what you want to do to make money is you want to buy the dip. Now, how do you know when the dip is, if it's going to be further dipping? That's where you look for that sideways movement. You use MACD convergence here to assess your opening point. What you're looking for again, ideal scenario, bottom of the red trough here on MACD convergence,
yeah,
or when it is brushing up against the bottom band of the Bollinger Band. The bottom band of
yeah,
the Bollinger Band indicates two standard deviations below the moving average, which means that it is trending to be oversold. So you want to look at picking some up at that point. For example, if you had used either of the methods that I just told you about, MACD convergence buying the dip at 2350 here, or just buying whenever it crossed over the Bollinger Band here at 2360, and you could have sold at 2500 for about 150 stat gain. So that's going to be how you determine your entry point. How much to buy? Investment companies are quite conservative and will tell you, very, very small percentage of your portfolio. I would say at this point, given where the market is and its potential for a downturn until it levels out, I would say no more than 15 to 25% of your total trading portfolio into crypto at this time. If you're feeling spicy and you want to put that in, go ahead and do that, but diversify. So what you want to do is go to something like Coinbase. You may have heard of Coinbase, or you can use some of the other wallets to purchase. You can go through Exodus, but basically, so if we go to Coinbase here, let's see. If I go, where's it for a link here? So if I'm going to put this into the chat. Yeah, Coinbase.com, exactly. So what you can do is just follow that link, and that'll send you a join invite. It's win-win. You'll get $10 credit after your first $100 purchase.
yeah,
So in terms of a dollar amount, I would say start with your first 100. If that is more than you want to invest, then I would say, consider holding off until really you can kind of get up to that point. Maybe do like $50, something like that. If that's less than you want to invest, then I would say, you know, keep it to a few hundred for now. Just because the potential for downside protection is really not there in this kind of market.
yeah. and you're absolutely right. But if you take a step back and you sort of look at everything on a in a much bigger scale, um, a good time to buy, if you're a day trader, swing trader, anything like that, and you're willing to accept moderate risk, I would probably say now would be a decent time to buy once you find that the price has kind of plateaued a little bit. I usually advise people to buy around a line of support. Uh, and by support, I mean a price in which a lot of orders have stacked up and building a nice little wall there. Um, that is usually a pretty good point to buy in at. And how much you should invest, really, that's only a question that you can answer. Um,
Funds that you're not attached to, you could lose some value in those funds. Keep in mind that crypto trading
yeah,
not a guaranteed increase of value, so you might end up buying in and then have your value actually go down, due to some market downturn. So it is
yeah.
possible.
Yeah, I always recommend, as a rule of thumb, never invest funds that you're not willing to lose. And I heard an interesting sort of point by somebody who's not even a crypto trader or anything. It's more in terms of like wealth management, if you will. Um, don't invest an amount that you're not willing to lose three times over. So if you want to invest, let's say $1,000, are you prepared to lose $3,000 in that? If you are prepared, then great. You found your magic number. Go and diversify your $1,000 across some altcoins, a couple of big boys like Bitcoin, Ethereum, what have you. Um, but like Nick said, you may find yourself in a position where as soon as you buy in, the market could be in reversal and it could go down, or we could hit a bullish period and it could go up. And with trading crypto, especially in terms of altcoins, it's very much a double-edged sword, because not only are you having to worry about the altcoin's value in terms of Satoshi, you're also having to worry about the altcoin's value in terms of US dollars as well. So there's very much two different markets that you have to look at. And as a day trader, we always look at where we can garner the most profit from, whether that's selling
Excuse me.
back into Bitcoin and taking our profits in terms of Satoshis, or selling those altcoins into Tether and taking those profits in terms of USD. So, really, there's a lot that you have to look at and a lot that you have to consider whenever you're getting started and with swing trading, day trading. In long term trading, you don't really have to worry about that kind of stuff so much, because in long term trading, um, ultimately your goal and your hope is to buy low and sell high. But if you're a day trader, the pro strat is to buy high and sell low. So let's keep it spicy in here. Um, and Matt actually just asked a good question. If difficulty is directly related to the price of coins, why wouldn't people just watch the difficulty to predict the progressing future prices? That's very interesting that you mentioned that. The problem with that is most people aren't going to look at the difficulty rate.
And even that, it's just not true. So with Ethereum, we're talking about difficulty bomb. It's going to explode and increase the difficulty exponentially. Does
Yeah.
that does that mean the price of ether is going to increase exponentially? No. There's no scarcity, because there's so much ether out there, and they're going to generate more through staking, that you're in a situation where it doesn't matter about the difficulty. Difficulty over time is going up. Does that mean that it's guaranteed that it's going to go up in price at the same rate? No. So I think that's kind of false.
Yeah, no, really only miners are going to be looking at difficulty rates on those proof of work coins. Within the next month or so, uh, difficulty is going to be pretty much useless in terms of ether. since Casper is going to sort of step in and take charge there. But in terms of the proof of work coins, keeping an eye on difficulty, yes, it can sort of give you an idea of where the price is going to go, but that is not a surefire indicator of rise and fall in valuation. Um, Difficulty rate is more or less devoted strictly to miners who have specialized equipment, who are running you know tons and tons of lines of code a second and unlocking parts of the block and releasing funds into the system. So to answer that, yeah, difficulty wouldn't really reflect in the price of the coin unless for some reason there was some freak anomaly and where uh, the difficulty just shot through the roof for some unknown reason, whether it's a hack or some sort of malicious software attack of some sort. Um, but yeah, I hope that answers that question.
Yep, I think that's a good assessment there. Just kind of bringing it back to kind of the cross collaboration there with coins. I did want to take a look briefly at the Zcash technology that's helping Vitalik Buterin, the kind of runner of Ethereum,
The
develop a
God
scaling
King.
solution. Yes, not giving away ETH though. So basically, the technology is called ZK Snarks.
Yep.
It's technology that allows transactions to be validated, verified in batches without the actual execution of the each contract individually. And so what that basically means is that you can bulk validate transactions without the delays and potentially increase the transaction speed per second of about 15 maximum, where it is now on the Ethereum network, to about 500. Which is over a 30 times increase in the speed of the network. So definitely some possibly exciting developments there.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how the ZK Snarks technology is going to function inside of the Ethereum realm. If it proves to be successful, I think we could see a huge push for utility in terms of using Ethereum again. There's we Ether has kind of been locked in this battle and sort of this stagnant state to where people want to use it because it's so easy to use and it's cheap to move around, but sometimes the gas can get a little expensive, um, and sometimes the network can be a little slow. And that's sort of to be expected in
Now, are
this
you are
day
you
and age.
talking about the Ethereum network when you say the network could be slow?
Yeah, yeah, because because of its transactions per second being so low. Whereas if you look at EOS, how many transactions per second do they handle? Um, if you look at Ripple, how many transactions per second do they handle? Those numbers tend to be a lot higher for those other coins rather than Ether, because Ether, historically speaking, has been more focused on tackling the problem of decentralization, and they sort of strayed away from working on scalability issues. And so it's really good to see that the God King Vitalik, non-giver of Ether, Buterin, sort of like say, hey, okay, we need to do something about scaling now. And then doing this cross collaboration with Zcash using ZK Snarks to hopefully get that 30 times increase in transactions per second. Hopefully, that will alleviate and make the Ethereum network all that much more easier to use. Um, because I am super salty about EOS right now. So China can keep EOS. I am still firmly a fanboy of the Ether.
Well,
So
I think you're salty because there wasn't an instruction manual for you to read, and so that can kind of be an issue. I just want to point out, just briefly, we've been talking about being in a bear market. We've been talking about just getting kicked in the ass all over the place by these coins. I just want to point out, EOS has casually gone up 10% in the past hour.
yeah,
So, if you want to look at how to make money in crypto, this is what you look for right here. This is a beautiful dip. Massive sell off. Massive sell off. Huge dip. $5 EOS.
Uh
Boom. If I wasn't streaming, maybe I would have jumped in on that and
huh.
and made some cash monies. Point is that there's always opportunities. Anytime there's a bad market like this, that's when you want to jump in.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely is the perfect example of a dip that should have been bought, because you can see that just massive sell-off candle there on the MACD.
Mm-hmm.
Just looks absolutely disgusting. And if you would have managed to get in at the bottom of that candle, yeah, you would have netted some healthy profits there,
Yep.
and
And buying
capitalized on
buying
them.
point, let's say 505. Let's say you take your $100. So at 505 you buy in, you got 19.8 EOS. And let's
Yep.
say you sell at 540. Well, that's not as much as I thought. Well, your $100 would be up to 107, so it's about a 7% gain. But
Hey, profits are
nonetheless,
profits are profits, man.
nonetheless, not bad. $7 ain't much. But if you're trading more than $100, that's why you know, we generally recommend investing more than that because if you're able, because that's when you're going to start to see some crazy swings.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, casually, exactly. No big deal.
Just casually drop, a couple $100 on some EOS. No big deal. No big deal. We're just whales in a swimming pool here.
Oh man, just splashing around, knocking kids into the hot dog stand. I mean, it's crazy.
Fucking screw your water wingies, kid. Get out of here. Get out of
Yeah,
here.
yeah, floaties for life, man. I still wear them. Shit, wear them into the tub.
I get weird looks when I go to the gym and I'm sitting in the hot tub wearing some, water wings.
Mm-hmm.
People think there's something wrong with me, and I just tell them, hey man, I'm a whale. You just got to get over it.
Yep, some solid rubber duckies there with that. So I did want to mention why I kind of made the prediction for zero X and basic attention token earlier. So zero X, or sorry, Zcash, Zcash is working alongside Ether. So Zcash is a good one. The basic attention token is run by a company called Brave, and they have also developed this browser on the Ethereum blockchain.
Very nice
And
browser.
which is what I'm using here. It has a lot of the features that people want in their browser already built in. Plus, it has security. Plus, it has blockchain integration, so you can actually use basic attention tokens, which are sometimes just freely given out. Sometimes you have to use your own. And basically, you use those to pay verified publishers directly. So instead of the publisher of content having to go through the revenue agency and then to the consumer, it actually cuts out the middleman. And
Right.
there was a bit of Twitter beef actually between some folks who were proponents of Bitcoin and they're Bitcoin maximalists, so they say Bitcoin above everything. You should only use Bitcoin, etc. And then they also were fans of the Lightning Network, which is the major, update that Bitcoin is trying to push to increase transaction speed. That's kind of their
Yeah.
way of handling the scalability. Now, I don't think that that's destined for success, and I'll tell you why. Brave, the browser uses basic attention tokens. Okay, basic attention tokens, are on the ERC. Well, they're ERC 20, and then ultimately, but they tried Bitcoin. They actually had Bitcoin as their method of payment before they used basic attention tokens.
Right.
They had them as Bitcoin, for basically almost 2 full years. They tried using it, and the reality is publishers don't want Bitcoin. Okay, they want fiat. So either way, it's getting transferred in, and they also can't use the Lightning Network to facilitate those transactions because you have to be an endpoint on the Lightning Network in order to facilitate that. So the Lightning Network is very, very limited because it's only transactions and movement between endpoints. So if you're not an endpoint, which is a process, you have to be able to process lots of transactions. I mean, not just anyone can be an endpoint. Then you can't use Lightning. So what are the odds that, for these Twitter folks who are saying, oh, we'll just use the Lightning Network, Bitcoin's super fast. Well, what are the odds that of 20,000, 25,000 verified publishers, how many of them want to sign up to be a Lightning node endpoint? Like none, right? Maybe one. So it's just not a feasible solution.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it's great that um, Brave and the team over at you know the developers of Brave have sort of decided to stick to using their proprietary token on the network because I think that by using Bitcoin on an ERC20 network is sort of counterintuitive in my opinion because Bitcoin being I believe what is it, a SHA 256 protocol.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Using that on an ERC20 network just kind of seems not the greatest. But I think by consumers seeing that Brave is using a proprietary system to compensate its developers and compensate content creators, um, that it builds some solidarity within that community. So that to me says a lot about how much confidence that Brave has in basic attention token as a means of payment for content creators. And I think it's great that they've decided to create this reward system for content creators because just like us, we don't do any of this for financial gain. um, we we solely operate off of donations, and everything that we get goes straight into the stream. um, so having a system there that sort of got their eye on the little guy, that says a lot to us, and especially as content creators, because we can only aspire to reach such levels that Brave starts compensating us, and as content creators. So to me, basic attention token will always hold a very special place in my heart because of how much they look out for their content creators.
Justin brings up a good question here. If I invest in crypto and I started losing value, at what point, if any, should I try to cut my losses and bail, or should I ride it out? Great question. I would say that you can minimize your losses by doing what's called setting a stop loss order.
Yeah.
So here within Binance, which is our preferred method of trading, if you look down here at the types of orders, you can do just a limit order. You can go over here to stop limit. And what this does is it, as we've explained on other streams, essentially what you're doing is setting a price. It's a flag that will trigger your stop loss to either buy in or sell. So in this case, you're looking to sell because you're saying, okay, let's say I buy in, I buy EOS right now at 540. Okay, but if it goes, what loss are you willing to accept? So are you willing to accept 5%, 10%? Where's your absolute bottom that you'd be willing to accept?
Right.
In my opinion, you have to look at kind of historical data to assess, the likelihood of where that coin's going to go. If we dial out to like the 1 hour, okay, I would say at this point where it is now, it's probably going to trend back upwards towards 6. That would be my like gut. So I would set, the stop loss here at about, let's say like 530, 525, maybe 520, something like that. So you have a nice gap, and so that'll ensure you only lose about maybe 7% or something. So then you have to, once that's in place, if the price does fall down, then that's in a place where your sale is automatically happen and you're not going to lose anymore. Um, whether you should just hodl, so that's kind of a debate topic within the community. Do you just buy in and just ride it out, confident that after a year or two, it'll be up? I don't think that's a wise investment strategy because there's a lot of ups and downs in the meantime that you can take advantage of. So I would say if you're going to invest, don't just buy it and forget it. Buy in, set a stop loss, set a price target for your sell point,
Oh yeah.
and determine how long you want to be in the coin. Is this something you want to buy for a week? If so, set your stop loss accordingly. Is this something that you want to be in for a day? you might not need a stop loss. You're going to be just sitting there watching it all day, and then at the end of the day, sell for whatever profit you can get.
Yeah, really. Okay, so when it comes to hodling, I usually poke fun at people who hodl because being put in a position to where you have to hodl usually implies that you didn't set your stop losses. Excuse me. Um, and by setting your stop losses, you are thereby protecting your investment, whether you're protecting it from dipping below your buy-in point, or you could be setting a stop profit and just take profit wherever you can. The only time I would ever, ever recommend hodling is if you bought super, super cheap and had plenty of wiggle room to sort of to let it ride out and build valuation. Then hodling would be 100% acceptable in my position. Like some of these people who are hodling Dogecoin, they got it while it was crazy cheap, crazy cheap. And so right now, they're effectively safe to hodl because, even if it dips a little bit at this point, they bought in so cheap that the profit is there no matter what. It won't be as much profit if it decides to downturn like we're seeing now, but nonetheless, their profits are protected no matter what at this point. So unless something just catastrophically went wrong with Dogecoin, those guys are totally safe for the time being. Especially with some of the good news that's been circulating around Dogecoin and the Doge Ethereum bridge, the sort of cross-platform transfer and transactions. So that's more that's still being developed as we speak. There hasn't been an official release date for when that system will be going live just yet, but definitely one to keep an eye on. Will Dogecoin uh, hit $1? Will it hit 10 cents? Will it hit 5 cents? Who knows? We'll just have to see. But you
Yeah.
know, the Dogecoin community has their faith firmly planted in the hands of Jackson Palmer and the team over there.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to wait and see.
And there's even a tweet from Dogecoin about how, kind of where making people aware and warning them about, specific spams. The advice is just remember, anyone who could make profits above market averages doesn't need your money. So if they're
Yeah,
promising that, you send them zero point 0.5 ether and you get 5 ether, then, that's just a way to just rope you in and get you to send in free ETH. So don't do
yeah,
it. Don't give away free ETH.
yeah. No, that is a well-known scam that has been around for quite a while. Which is why we've seen some of these posts, or not posts, but profiles pop up on Twitter that say not giving away free ether and stuff like that, especially with Vitalik Buterin, the non-giver of ETH. But yeah, you have to be very wary about some of these, systems that promise to deliver just, outrageous sums of crypto for such a, meager investment. BitConnect,
Hey
what's
now,
up, what's up, what's up?
hey, you're the
Uh,
one that has a BitConnect T-shirt.
hey, I found it at a thrift store, man.
Yeah, well, so great questions overall. I hope we answered those kind of investment questions. Of course, if you have any more, we're happy to continue discussing that. So moving on, I did want to just kind of throw in one more thing about Brave. They actually partnered with an identification verification software through Civic,
Yep.
and they were actually allowed to bring kind of KYC to publishers. So if you do decide to use the Brave browser, then you're able to kind of more trust the publishers that you're sending your BAT tokens to.
Yeah, absolutely. Civic, great project. They've actually been working on, I believe, over in Japan or China, putting in vending machines that accept Civic coin as a means of payment for different products, what have you. Because over in Japan, you can buy just about anything out of a vending machine.
Oh yes.
Some some things, you could buy a Coke out of a vending machine, or you could buy something a little more spicy, such as some previously worn women's undergarments. Um,
Yeah, why not?
but there are some strange ducks in the world. Some of them living in Japan and willing to spend a few CVC coin on some soiled underpants.
Yep. Yep. Get
But
those sweet smells, you know.
oh man, the weeb is for real. But yeah, no, Civic. I think as an identification verification software, definitely a solid choice for Brave to partner with in terms of bringing security throughout their KYC or know your customer process. Because I know a lot of people, especially um, people who are very strong proponents of decentralized and distributed networks, tend to be a little wary of KYC processes. Um, but Civic being one of the more decentralized options in terms of identification verification, solid pick for Brave and basic attention token to go with.
Yep. And we even saw a nice pump in CVC.
Yeah,
Very nice pump, about 200 sat pump.
good stuff.
So,
Great.
this is a case where it would be very difficult to foresee this kind of buy-in. I mean, if you look at the monstrous volume, that's a cool million CVC. Um, so significant buy-in, and it's difficult to see that coming. But
Yeah.
this is a case where you might buy in because you believe in the product. So you believe in CVC, and especially you see the news that CVC was linking up with Basic Attention Token and the Brave browser, and so that's positive collaboration. That could be a positive indicator for the price, and we see that in fact is what happened.
Yeah.
Now,
Absolutely.
it doesn't always work that way. In fact, the crypto market is infuriating because there are plenty of examples where there's some great news that comes out, and but people sell the news. You know,
Always buy the
so
rumor, sell the news.
so that's frustrating to deal with. That's something you just have to deal with in the crypto space. But you get used to it because the space is ruled by bots and shorters and people who just want to make a quick day trade. So long term holding positions kind of risky. But again, if you get in at 1700, you're good, right? So you're getting at 1740 and you're good all the way up to 1900 here. Then
Yeah.
everything is just gravy after that. You know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So, yep. Well, we are at about an hour. Do we want to keep rolling here?
Yeah, let's just knock out these last couple notes. Why not? Let's just get it over with.
All right. Well, we did see this week that Walmart, the well-known, the actual Walmart. This is not some crypto version. This is like the actual company. They partner with IBM to add in blockchain tech for their leafy green produce supply chain.
Yes.
And so what this is going to do is allow the farmer to scan in, basically like a box of produce that he has, and it has a label attached to the box. So he, puts the shipment of vegetables under this scan in, and that scan in actually is on the blockchain, so you can see it, and you can trace the produce from farm to store and then to your table.
Yeah, I know in the past there's been some issues where, you know, the stuff that we get in the store, how do we really know where this stuff is coming from? Um, and that's especially with the case of leafy greens, where in the past, we've seen, some reputable, you know, bagged salad producer has, put out a
Hmm.
product that has been tainted with salmonella, various other, um, foodborne illnesses and what
Yeah.
have you.
E. coli. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So by bringing everything onto the blockchain and making the process so much more transparent for everybody to see, I think ultimately they have the end user and the consumer in mind when they have this plan to put forward. So I think that's a really really good thing. And I know Walton Chain is also sort of working on something more on the supply chain and logistics side, um, for these big box retailers like Walmart, Sam's Club, Target, what have you, Costco. Um, so having a focus, from a big retail giant like Walmart partnering with a tech giant like IBM to implement a brand new cutting edge technology to protect the end user and the consumer is great news. I think that's fantastic. Um, the problem is getting those farmers educated, um, because not to stereotype or anything, farmers tend to be in more rural areas. They don't always have the best tech available to them, so bringing those farmers around and getting them educated on blockchain tech, that's cornering an entire market of people that has very low exposure to this kind of technology and bringing them into the technology of the future. So great
Now,
steps.
what coin do you think they're going to use? Because I thought XLM initially, because I thought that IBM was working with XLM, but I might be wrong on that. Do you know what coin they might use for this project?
For this project, I don't really know, because I know XLM is geared more towards uh, like web-based integration. And like built, there have been exchanges that have been built on Stellar Lumens.
Yeah,
So
they're trying to get in the payment transfer, space as well as a competitor with Ripple.
right. So for Walmart, I mean, who knows? They may just end up using Walton Chain because that's already a supply chain um, focused coin. So it'll be very interesting to see what coin and what blockchain they plan to use for that project.
Yeah, we'll definitely have additional announcements as we find out more about that. We also saw that Zero X teamed up with the Gods Unchained team. We had previously mentioned Gods Unchained as a
Yes.
trading card game on the Ethereum network. They had raised, a huge amount, millions of dollars in their initial funding run, and they did auctions for cards, and they were doing very well.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, yeah. Still
Zero,
getting purchases.
yep. Zero X has partnered up with them. Now, keep in mind that ZRX runs on a slightly different protocol than what we're used to talking about. When we talk about ERC20 tokens, these are just standard Ethereum chain tokens. ZRX adds functionality by being a little bit more decentralized using the ERC721 protocol.
Yep.
And what this allows them to do is to create discrete entities on the blockchain to tokenize pieces of data, in this case, the card information, allowing them to become a discrete entity. And all transfer fees around this tokenized card are paid in ZRX or 0x. So that's going to that's going to help boost use of the coin. And
Mhm.
so we see that in the Gods Unchained game. Very interesting development there.
Yeah, and we've been covering a little bit here lately in terms of the blockchain gaming industry and how it's just been sort of growing exponentially over the last couple months. Last stream we did, I did a quick demo of Spells of Genesis, which is a trading card game. Um, Gods Unchained being a trading card game as well. But or not Gods Unchained, Spells of Genesis being a mobile based trading card game, and it operates on the Bitcoin blockchain, and it also offers you the opportunity to level up your cards, and if you achieve max level on a card, that actually becomes a blockchain asset
Mm-hmm.
through a process they call blockchainization.
Yep.
I think that term may be a little long-winded. It's kind of hard to say, but it is what it is. But in my time playing Spells of Genesis, I have managed to blockchainize two of my cards, thereby creating them an asset, or turning them into an asset that can be stored on the blockchain and also viewed on the blockchain. So what that means is, not only do I have this, hyper powerful card that, I can just, combo wombo people in this game with,
Mm-hmm.
but, if I ever decide to, maybe I'm looking for an upgrade, Maybe I want a different card. I can actually put that card up for sale to other players in hopes to, sell it, take some, profit from it, and then apply that to another blockchain based asset. So I think that, that whole trading process inside where you create an economy inside of the game is it's very, very groundbreaking, and it's very new. It's something we haven't really seen yet before. Um, well, I mean, I guess you could say we have, with people, buying gold in and outside of RuneScape, things like that. But that was more for like criminal enterprise. Let's just be real here. Um, but I think 0x, which is a protocol that was, more focused on building exchanges, um, since Coinbase used the 0x protocol to build Coinbase Pro, their proprietary exchange. This being sort of a step outside of their comfort zone and pursuing something in terms of blockchain gaming, I think is a great step in the right direction, because we're starting to hear more and more about blockchain based games being released and being planned and being developed. It seems like we hear about a new game being developed on the blockchain maybe every week, every other week. Um, so big moves in terms of blockchain gaming, which kind of leads me into our next point. Something I discovered last night just by random, just watching some gaming videos. There is currently a crypto that's being traded. It's called First Blood token. It's kind of a grim name, I know. I'm not. I don't think it's traded on Binance. I think it's traded on Bittrex, however. But First Blood is a token that is designed to reward uh, gamers for different. Yep, and here's their website right here. Um, they are actually beginning to step into the esports realm by hosting gaming tournaments that anybody, of any gaming caliber and gaming skill can just go onto the website and join and play. Um, excuse me. I was doing some browsing around on the First Blood website, especially on their tournaments page. Um, Most of their sort of like casual recreational gaming tournaments that they have are totally free to enter. And if you win, hey, awesome, you just won yourself a cool $10. Um, and I think it's great that they are using or they've partnered with the game's Player Unknown's Battlegrounds, which is one of the staple games in the Battle Royale gaming community.
Yep.
You know, a rival to Fortnite, H1Z1, Realm Royale, what have you. And then, sort of stepping back into another avenue there with MOBAs, massive online battle arenas or multiplayer online battle arenas with Dota 2. Lots of pro players playing Dota. Um, those two games are probably some of the
Yeah.
biggest games in their respective genres there. So it's I'm pretty sure they plan on adding more games to this list. Um,
Yep. And
you know,
with
espe-
daily and weekly prizes, I mean, you can basically just earn just by playing the games.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you navigate over to the tournaments page, you can see all sorts of tournaments for all sorts of skill levels. And it's free. Some of them are free to enter, and at that point, it's just why not? The worst thing that can happen is you lose, and you don't really lose anything except a few minutes of your time. So, First Blood making huge steps into the mainstream there by stepping into the gaming community, or as Doctor Disrespect would say, the gaming community. Um, so, on a separate subject here, Doctor Disrespect actually recently launched his own tournament series called Code Red. Um,
Hmm.
so I might have to send him a little message there and be like, hey, why not use the First Blood program to automate your tournaments and get become a mainstream staple in the crypto community.
Yep. If he's thinking about where he wants to go in the future, that could be a nice way to do it. We will definitely continue to find this. I'd like to possibly get a demo going of participating in one of these tournaments. So we will try to get Jay set up here on some PUBG, or I'll dive into some Dota. Either way, we'll try to get a demo going for the upcoming stream.
Yeah. Dota is more of Nick. That's more of his speed. He's a beast at MOBAs such as Heroes of the Storm and League of Legends and what
I
have you.
try, I try. Thank you.
You do much better than me. But my gaming style has always been in the shooters.
Mm.
So PUBG is much more my speed. And currently, I don't have a PC capable of running PUBG, despite trying various means and methods. But I did luck out and find an emulator that would let me run it, and I am a freaking legend at PUBG. So if you get me on the actual game, I will melt some faces, dissolve some brains, and make some kids wish their mommy was in the room with them. So we will be doing some more with First Blood and PUBG later on.
All right. Well, that does wrap it up for our news items. Any closing thoughts as we look to the rest of the week and what's coming up?
As for the rest of the week, since we are sort of in a pullback period in the market, just go ahead and get your stop losses in. Be smart, trade responsibly. Don't take unnecessary risks. Keep an eye on everything. The last thing we want to hear is one of our viewers pop up and say, "Oh my God, I lost thousands or hundreds of dollars because I didn't do this or that." We've been there. Nick's been there. I've been there. We've been on the receiving end of just absolutely devastating losses, and it's a terrible thing to hear about. But there are things you can do to alleviate that risk. You just got to be smart about it. Put your stop losses in. Assess your risk tolerance and see what you're willing to lose, if anything. So be smart about that. But in terms of how where the market's going in the next over the course of the week, I think we might be getting to a point to where we're getting oversold. So we could see some small pumps, maybe some bull flags being thrown up soon. I would probably wait to see those bull flags being painted on the charts before considering getting in and maybe buying at one of the bottom, or buying the dip of one of those bull flags. But that's just sort of where I am this week with the market. Um, so obviously, we'll be keeping an eye on the movement between now and Thursday, and then through the weekend into Tuesday of next week. Yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Well, I think that's all very, very sensible advice. So basically, we did want to close out the episode by letting everyone know to get on the BorgChain.com hype train, which is not loading for me right now.
It's because you got brave.
It's maybe. It's not letting the. There it goes. I
Yeah.
think the shield was up on Google. But anyway, we just want to close out by letting everyone know that there's a great way to pick up some dank quality memes on your clothing relating to crypto, and that's through going to boardchain.com, which will redirect you here to the Teespring shirt and apparel store. Put
Oh
on
yeah.
by our friend and partner JR. He is absolutely fantastic with this stuff. He puts out new content all the time. Dogecoin to the moon, etc. We still have yet to see the reemergence of the Snoop Doge, so just by personal request, if we can get some Snoop Doge going on, JR, if you're hearing this, we need that in our lives. But essentially, Borg Chain allows you to pick up some dank stuff, and also you have the choice to participate in the old traditional fiat currency economy with credit cards and that kind of thing, or you can reach out to JR directly and pay in over 50 different cryptocurrencies, including the one and only Dogecoin.
Absolutely. I'm actually about to drop a link in here, so bear with me. I just got to find it first. Um, for those who don't follow JR's page, it is cryptocurrency and blockchain. for beginners. Let me go ahead and get this link for everybody, drop it in the stream chat. I know some of you guys might already be in there, but at 1,000 followers, JR, the coolest T-shirt designer in the world, aka Rex Coin, the CEO of Doge.
Yeah.
At 1,000 followers, they will be doing a giveaway of a free shirt. So help him get to 1,000 followers. Let's get him the followers he deserves for being such an awesome guy. And once he hits 1,000 followers there, you could have a chance to win one of these awesome shirts of your choosing. So, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't forget blockchain.com for the shirts, and then dial into this link for the Facebook group. And you can always reach that group or our own personal Facebook group here.
Yeah, let me get the link for that. It is right here.
So here's the cryptocurrency and blockchain for beginners. You can use that invite link, and you can also reach out to us directly here at block.talk.
Yep.
It's official.block.talk. You can also reach out to us on Twitter at real_blocktalk.
Yep.
And finally, you can get to our Minds page, minds.com.
Minds being the latest and greatest of the blockchain-based social media pages.
Yeah, it's decentralized on the Ethereum blockchain. We're still developing our tribe page. To be honest, we're assessing if the volume's there, but if it is, we'll be diving into tribe as well on the EOS blockchain. And some handy dandy links there. WTF Foxtrot 89. WTF, mate, is dumping that in the chat. So.
Well, it's not me dumping the market, but I am dumping links in the chat. So.
Yep. Just dump it. It's a dump eat.
Dump it.
So if you're not familiar with the dank bog memes, definitely check those out as well. They will change your life for the better or the worse, depending on if you're on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, if you get a phone call and it's one of the Bogdanoff brothers on the other line, you might just want to dig yourself a hole and just crawl into it and never look at the light of day again, because bad things are about to happen.
Well, what's going to happen is he's going to say kill him, and he's going to take all your Bitcoin.
Yes, kill him, transfer everything.
So anyway, we're going to feature that on our next stream, I just have a feeling. But in the meantime, please do give us a like, follow, share, at us anytime. Tell us how terrible our stream is or how great it is. We want to hear that kind of content. I don't really have any other closing thoughts except buy the dip. And, if you're ever going to get in, it's when things are dipping. Just to give you a sense of, relatively speaking, there are some crypto bulls out there still calling for 40K by the end of the year. So I'm just saying, if you get in at 6K and it goes to 40K, that's like a 7 times increase in your money. So.
Oh yeah. Just to further reiterate, instead of BTD buy the dip, I say BTFD buy the effing dip. Go ahead, get in at a line of support. Get that buying power and trading power where you can. Be smart about it though. Always use your trading tools and indicators. And obviously, it goes without saying we are not investment advisors, so don't take anything as advice. This is purely speculation.
Yeah, this is all satire, so please don't take anything we say seriously.
Yeah, for entertainment purposes only. But as always, thanks to everybody that tuned in today. Thanks to Matt Brack, Jay Wolfie 93. We had a couple guys. Let's see, Justin Cakes. Where's the cake? Bring the cake. We want cake. Thanks y'all so much for watching, as well as some of the people that may have just been observing quietly in the background.
Yep.
Big shout out to JR and Borkchain Inc.
Absolutely. And if you're looking to continue the conversation, I just dropped a link to our Discord. Please hop in and let us know what you think about the broadcast. Yep. Until next time, which will be Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, that's going to do it for us here at Blockchain News. And we are the blockchain experts here at Block Talk. And there's no one else out there, literally. So if you ever want to learn about news, just come here first. Okay.
Yeah, unless you want to watch some boring traders lose a bunch of money and get liquidated on BitMEX, you're more than welcome to go watch them. Or you could tune in here for the lulls, the memes, the info, the news, the crypto, everything that is just right with the world. Block Talk is the place to be. Tell your friends, tell your family, hide your kids, hide your wife. Tune in Thursday. We'll be here, same time, same place.
Yep, I love it. And just remember, hide your husband too, because they be raping everybody up in here. All right, y'all.
Everybody's getting bogged.
Have a great one. We'll see you guys next time.
Later.
Hard to keep a straight face when I'm burning like fire, and you walk all the sides. I'm drawn in desire, and you have to think twice. It's hard to keep smiling when I try to set things straight. You don't even listen. I'm just getting late, like you're on a mission. Drawn in desire, and you have to think twice. You make me weak. You're the one I see, and I hate that I love you. I hate that I love you. If I could, and I would, come your heart, come your heart, and I'm it's hard to keep smiling when you're closing every door. I'm trying to open. I tell you love you more, and you say it's broken. You make me weak. You're the one I seek, and I hate that I love you. I hate that I love you. If I could, and I would, come your heart, come your heart, and it's hard to keep smiling when you're closing every door. I'm trying to open. I tell you love you more, and you say it's broken.